Welcome to Soul Talk with Nancy Orland Weber, and thank you for watching. I have a very special, not just guest, a special human being on this earth, a friend, and somebody I worked with in the past. And I am so honored to introduce you to him. So without any hesitation, this is retired Captain George Deuchar, who never really stopped working. So, from Morris County, New Jersey. And so, George, that's how I know you.
Yes, Nancy.
I would like you to just share how we met and under what circumstance and what happened, what led up to that for you.
Well, we met you actually contacted us on a vision that you had that turned out to be very extraordinary and very, very real. A lot of law enforcement is closed-minded, closed-mouthed when it comes to sharing bits and pieces of an investigation, especially with somebody that we don't know and who claims to be having a vision of what we're looking for. So we did contact you, and we kept our cards very close to our vest, and we're quite amazed at the accuracy in which you depicted the scene and the people we were looking for responsible for this amazing, horrible homicide that we were working with.
I'm going to just stop you for a moment and make one little extra piece. The reason I contacted was because a detective in my town called your detective.
Yes.
Said, she told me these things. You may want to speak with her. So that's how it actually got started on my end. The reason I say it is I never call police unless there's I'm told I can.
Yes. And, okay. I was a detective sergeant at the time, so I was running the detective bureau. And one of my detectives then came to me and said, "Here's what I have." And although it was not looked upon favorably by the prosecutor's office in Morris County, I advised my detective to go talk to Nancy.
Right. Because I was very surprised. And that told me who you were instantly. You know that.
Yeah, well, you have to be open-minded, as I said. I'll follow all leads.
I understand. But I think that being at the prosecutor's office made it very clear that no one's to contact me. And that's because I knew him.
Right.
And so
they also felt it was a kind of a sensational way to go about investigating this crime.
Right. You took a great risk.
I didn't look at it as such.
Interesting. I want people to know why you're doing something. You just did it because it mattered to you to get it done.
It mattered to me because I had a girl who was viciously murdered.
Right.
And so it mattered to me that we investigate and determine the responsible party as quickly as possible.
Sure.
And knowing that we had a mother and a father waiting to hear anything,
Yeah. So have we seen each other since then?
Yes, on occasion we have. As a matter of fact, let me just add to the credibility that Nancy has. I had another missing person case. I've had nearly 200 of them, but I had another missing person case in which all leads were exhausted. I had no idea. So I went to Nancy's home and said, "Nancy, what do you think?" And Nancy, being Nancy, said, "I would tell you if I had it, but I don't." And so therein lied the great credibility of Nancy in saying that I'm not making up a story. I just don't have it in this particular case. I don't have the vision that I had in the previous homicide case that you were investigating.
And I always thought that was, I had never heard that before. That was so in keeping with your own set of ethics. Right. And for me, that was a match. And for you, that was a match. Interesting. Yes. Right. Right. And then the fun part was going to dinner with you and your wife.
Yes. Yes.
That was beautiful. So now I want to jump to something else with you. Two things. The first is, how did you, what do you think were your pivotal moments where you became the person willing to take risks, willing to say, I don't care if you say I'm not allowed to do this, I do it anyhow. What's inside you that gets you that way?
Determination. I'm a little, well, my wife would say I'm obsessive compulsive, but I'll just go to the end.
In
I'm
a
not
good
going
way.
to give up. I'm not going to give up. And for me, it wasn't for the betterment of me. It was because it was a purpose. Whatever I have done in my career, which spans many years now, in a variety of
Don't count.
positions, yeah, no, it has a purpose. It has a purpose for someone or something, not for me.
So that leads me to the second part. What did you do after you were retired? What did you create?
Well, after my 26 years with the police department, I had a job waiting for me, actually. And they were anxious to get me there. But I still waited an extra year before I retired to be director of training for a company called PowerPhone, which is the international leader in training and developing software for dispatchers, call takers, and communication centers. And so from there, from my department, I went to meet, and I was traveling a lot. Twice a week, I was on an airplane somewhere, training domestically and internationally.
Why? Why did you want it?
Well, again, it was the purpose.
What was
I saw there was a real need. You see that people answering your 911 call is a lifeline to you, and they didn't have sufficient training. And so I wanted to get involved in doing that. And it took me from coast to coast and to the UK, to Trinidad, to Newfoundland, to you name it, to try and serve that purpose.
How did you come to that, though? I mean, what made you understand about 911 calls not being well schooled in it, well trained? What made you aware?
Well,
Felt so strong.
first of all, the last 2 or 3 years of my career at Washington Township, as a lieutenant, then as a captain, I was division commander of Support Services Division. Part of that was our comm center. And I saw the need right at home, first of all.
Oh.
And so as I developed training programs, trust me, before I went to California to teach a suicide intervention class, I did it right at home first, kind of a test, if you will. And our people became so proficient at handling these life-saving calls that I figured, we can do this everywhere. We can raise the bar. We can raise the level of these 911 call takers that literally have your life in their hands when you call. And for me, it's always been, we see people at their best and we see people at their worst.
Sure.
So how can we improve that?
George, did you always want to do this kind of work? But when you were young?
Well, actually, when I was real little, I wanted to be a fireman, but I'm afraid of heights, so that was out of the question. So as a police officer, I was always big into education. My wife is a school teacher in the same elementary school in the same district as I was a police officer. But I went into the schools and talked to kids about staying safe. Then I was trained as a DARE officer. Spent 2 years full-time in all of our schools, teaching the DARE program, teaching the students in our high school in the criminal justice program. And so apparently the instructor, the teacher in me was starting to come out. And if I could use my law enforcement investigative experience to do so, I mean, that was it for me. That's where you got to go. That's where you're being led.
And we know, Rich Pompelio, I think.
Yes.
Right? And so do I. And we've talked about exactly what you are saying. There is such a great need for training everywhere because it's not consistent.
No.
And you have been so dedicated. I know you are teaching now and teaching other places, correct?
Yes, college
And
and the
they call
university.
you and they tell you, come out, we need you.
Well, I'm teaching, it's funny because prior to COVID, we did all this in person. Now my graduate classes that I'm teaching are online.
But where are you teaching it? And what?
Well,
Are
it's
you-
at a university in the master's program for leadership and public administration.
Okay, and that, how does that gel with what you were saying before about educating them to serve well? I don't know.
As a leader, as a leader. Yeah, I mean, excuse me, a little allergy issue here today. I think it's important that leaders and managers are trained sufficiently to lead and to manage. And I've seen poor management and I've seen poor leaders. And for the leader to have the ability to enhance the performance and perfection of those they're leading, I mean, that is it. I mean, as a captain, I tried to do that.
No, you did do that. I'm going to correct you. You
Thank
did
you.
that. I'm going to need to close in a few minutes, and I want to share something about you in what you just said. I remember the call back I got. And those who've read The Life of a Psychic Detective, I think I go into detail that I called and how I got to even know she was missing, doesn't matter. And at first I was told that the prosecutor's office would not permit the detective to speak with me. And
Well,
then,
we didn't let that stop us, do we?
and then I got a call back and he said, my boss said I can talk with you. And I thought, I got chills. I get chills right now because that is the sign of a leader. It's not only that you're willing to take the risks on your job or assigning it and saying, go ahead and do it, knowing two of you are now in jeopardy. You are so clear about what leadership really means, not being, I'm going to boss you around like that prosecutor
Definitely.
said.
Yes.
I mean, this is like 180 degrees between two people. Don't talk to anybody. We don't want the publicity. Nobody ever knew my name back then. And then you go ahead and do that. And so you are, for me, what I call a light keeper. Light keepers, in a variety of ways, make sure that the divine process of wisdom and goodness and compassion and mercy, because I know you stood by her body. I know how hard life can be after that forever.
Yes.
I understand. I have seen the pain in your eyes when we've talked in the past, and know there is being able to deal with that the way you have makes you a very unique human being. I tell you, I have so much respect for who you are and for what you have done to help so many, not just nationwide, because I know you traveled everywhere doing this, and
Yes.
that you write curriculums. And so I wanted people who watch to understand what true leadership is and what teamwork is, because you put that all together. You didn't separate it and go, I'm very different than you were the way a boss needs to be. He very clear. And I am so grateful for and sad over why we met, obviously. And I pray that their family and all of them that have left this earth because of that, the rippling effect it has.
Yes.
That we all know how much love has been poured into them, as you as a leader, as any of us working on the team, and more. and everyone who's ever loved them. So, George, I hope we remain friends forever.
You know, Nancy, everything I've done, I've really regarded as a ministry
Hmm.
more than anything.
I know. It shines in you. You're a light keeper. Bless you and thank you, George. I so appreciate you coming on. And I hope everybody watching and listening takes that into consideration about take the risks. If they're good and healthy and they help, don't hold back. Fear, half the time, we don't need. We have plenty of real
Yeah.
stuff going on. We see something, we say something, we do something. And so I'm so grateful. This is a life keeper. George Deuchar, he's still working hard, so we're going to jump off. And you have a great day, everybody. Thank you.
Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you. And oh, by the way, folks, if you have not read The Life of a Psychic Detective on Amazon, unless you're in the US and want signed copies, at my place, NancyWallenWeber.com. Have a great day.